so much energy to do these kinds of things. There's not sometimes a whole hell of a lot left. It's like making a comeback in a particular sport. You make the great, like in the NBA, you make a great comeback, you're down 20, you make a great comeback to get even, and then when you're even, you kind of run out of gas. You can make that argument as well with the Rockets. But I'll tell you right now, they've given Golden State an awful lot to think about as far as this conference final is concerned. An awful lot to think about. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of pressure on Golden State right now. You know, we joked around with D'Antoni. Well, he did. You know, all the pressure's on the Warriors when he said that before Game 4. Well, in essence, all the pressure to me was on the validation of Houston as a sports fan. They had to make Golden State work here, and they have now. And so I thought the pressure was on Houston, and they played like that yesterday. Well, now the pressure's on the Warriors because, you know, you like to see Houston win, and, you know, Houston's this close, so you understand that. But nobody thought Houston was going to win this series before it began. I think, Stu, most people right now think Houston's going to lose. And even if they won Game 5, I think most people would still think Golden State win Game 6 and 7. So nobody's going to believe that Golden State's going to lose until there's actually, you know, they're down 10 with a minute left in Game 7 or Game 6, down 3 games to 2. Now, they're going to win Game 6. I would be stunned if they didn't win that 6th game. So I think Houston has to win tomorrow night, very much like the Celtics. I don't think the Celtics can, they have to win the game tonight, too. I think both Houston and Boston, the best they can expect is to win a 7th game. I don't think that those two teams with home court can win in 6 games. I think the best they can hope for is a 7th game, and both LeBron and Golden State can win a Game 7 on the road. I wouldn't want to be in that situation, but I think both can win a Game 7 on the road. My issue right now a little bit is with Golden State, and this is basically what I said before. And I have been not on the Golden State world champ, best team of all time bandwagon, as you guys well know, with Rick Barry, all the fights. I have never been on that bandwagon to begin with. I had begun to relent a little bit here in the last 6 to 8 months, season and a half. I get it. Durant, Curry, and everything else. But Golden State now, there's a lot of pressure on the Warriors. There's a lot of pressure on Kerr. I mean, if you look at the history of the Warriors right now, 3 years ago, they barely beat the Cavaliers. They would have lost that series if Irving didn't break his kneecap in Game 1 and if Love played. Neither did happen. They both were out, and it was still 2 games, and they were still Golden State trailed 2 games to 1 in that series, the best of 7. Can you imagine if Curry and Irving Irving and Love were in the lineup 3 years ago, and it was 2 games to 1 Cleveland, and they had home court in Game 4? Golden State would have lost that series. The following year, this is with Kerr and Golden State, the Warriors had a 3 games to 1 lead, and you can argue all you want about Draymond Green's suspension. They had a 3 games to 1 lead off a 73-win regular season with 2 games at home and lost. Last year, fair enough, they got Durant. They were due. We get it. But there's, again, pressure on them this year. If they lose this series, I mean, that means, that in my eyes, they would have left 2 titles on the table. Out of 4 chances, 2 titles they would have left on the table. You know, LeBron's only left 1 title on the table. That was the Dallas. They would have left 2 titles, Kerr, on the table. 2. That's a lot, 2. I mean, because let's be honest, if you're looking at the rosters of these teams, I mean, which roster are you taking? You taking the Golden State roster, or are you taking the Houston roster? If you look at the rosters of the team 2 years ago, even with Irving and Love, you're taking the Golden State roster 173 or the Cleveland roster 173. So right now, this is who didn't win 73, but who won the series in 7 games. So right now, there is a lot of pressure on the Warriors here and this highfalutin offense to get the job done. Now, again, you know, if they win them all night, you know, and that's a 50-50 game. They certainly could, and they'll probably be favored. You know, if they win them all night, you know, nobody's going to say boo. You know, and they win the next game, they win in 6. Houston did their job, and Golden State, you know, was in a tester, and they got out of it. But if they lose tomorrow and they lose this series, Kerr's going to hear a lot of grief. A lot of grief. And deservedly so. Everybody makes Kerr out to be this, that, and the other. He's got to win this series. And you got the best team, you got to win these series. And they have been very sloppy in these 2 out of the 4 games. They've been very sloppy. They did not play well in Game 2. They were very nonchalant about that game. They didn't have the sense of urgency. I think last night they expected Houston to, you know, fall down and roll over at 12-0, and then later on at 82-70. Neither of which occurred. Neither of which occurred. I don't want to hear about Iguodala. Not interested. Nobody was thinking about Iguodala at 82-70. It wasn't outside of Chris Webber, who, by the way, in a big game stinks. I mean, Webber can do all the games he wants with Marv when, you know, when nobody's paying too much attention because Golden State's blowing people out, and that's 9 times out of 10 what's going on when he's doing these games. But last night, Weber was lost. Reggie Miller saved him. Reggie's good. Weber stinks. I've come to that conclusion. He has no business being on there doing these games. But when you get right, I don't want to hear about Iguodala. Everybody was making a big deal about him, including Weber. I don't want to hear a word. All right, when at 82-70, there wasn't a person in America who was thinking of, oh, you know what, they're in trouble here because Andre Iguodala's not in the lineup. Nobody thought that, and nobody cared. And I don't want to hear about defense either. They only scored 95 points, Houston. It wasn't like they scored 130. They scored 95 points in a game. And Iguodala ain't a big offensive player. So, I mean, it's not like they sat there and lost his rotations on defense on nonsense. Stop. I don't want to hear it. Not a peep. They lost that game yesterday because Curry shot 10 of 27 and did absolutely nothing outside of that one flurry. Durant was not good, 9 of 24 or thereabouts, and not a big factor. Klay Thompson had his head in his fanny, worrying about his injuries instead of worrying about playing basketball. And Green does, some good things and some things that drives you crazy. Misses dunks, misses a big free throw, almost kills Harden on a dunk himself. I mean, does yourself crazy. So right now, as we begin a Wednesday night, we'll get the Celtics Cavs later, Lockery later too. As we begin this later, we'll analyze this. But right now, the story here is pressure on the world champs. And this is not some, quote unquote, routine world champion. This is what, Jerry West likes to think is the greatest team of all time. Well, the greatest team of all time has stunk in this series. And if you're the greatest team of all time, you got to be able to beat Capella, P.J. Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon and Gerald Green in a conference final. 22 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog on.